Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with the 161st episode of our first YouTube run through the House of Light expansion to Book of Hours, playing as the archaeologist and getting ready for the Winter Salon. So as far as our plans are concerned, we're pretty much ready to go. If I can, I'll maybe just eke out a few more memories from Denzel, although in reality we're probably just going to keep the confounding parable. It would be maybe nice if I could... I guess technically I could read some more books, but as we said on Monday's episode, the one challenge I have right now is my plans for leveling could be completely upended by the salon. So it does actually invite a reasonable question, which is to say, why did I even bother with what I have already, right? It's entirely possible I would have wound up with transformations and liberations, or effectively something that would allow me to level up Magaphine Mysteries, Menescape Reflections, weaving and not working, all of the different skills that I leveled up. And it's a little bit of a weird story in terms of this, but mainly the idea is that I am also in a situation where I have sort of a lumpy set of elements of the soul. So in a lot of cases, I can expect to fully get through a salon. However, I don't know if I'm at the point yet where I can guarantee myself full success on all of the different challenges. I suspect we probably will be able to get through them, and in fact the cases I can imagine where it wouldn't turn out would most likely be like just really, really unlucky rounds. And I find a bit more enjoyment about learning. So for me, the enjoyment of this game is going through it, learning how it works by playing it a whole lot. I couldn't tell you the specific mechanics of how the salon works, so whether or not it's possible that if you bring in Daymare, who, I imagine would probably be the one to give you a Shapt challenge, let's say. I'm just giving that as an example. It does seem to be that there are some characters that are associated with certain elements of the soul. But I don't know if there's something sort of hard-coded into the game to prevent, 6 Shapt challenges in a row. Now that on its own actually would be enough for me, but I also have Coquille and I don't have as many Arab. So all of that's to say, there is actually still some value in me having the option to commit things to the Tree of Wisdoms. And so what I did there with Menescape Reflections, that was sort of the one to open the path for the Illumination branch. Although the Illumination branch was a bit of a special case because I could have actually gone top down. And then similarly, some of these lower end ones that I'm leveling up really are about unlocking parts of the Tree of Wisdoms so that I can potentially get certain elements of the soul. So that's my somewhat flimsy excuse for jumping the gun. The other practical matter is if I have a day in game, particularly on a day where I'm going to be recording the episode and I'm recording everything I'm doing in this playthrough, it's nice to just have something to do as opposed to sort of sitting around waiting a day doing nothing. There's no penalty in the game for doing so, but from a broadcaster point of view, it would be a little funny to... I thought it was odd I wasn't able to bring in the foresight. But yeah, it's nice to just actually to be able to deliver. Oh, you know what? I think I just consigned this Shapt to being fatigued in the morning because I went from a 90-second to a 2-minute challenge. Ah, well. Okay. I was just trying to think if there's anything I can move in the skills list here. No luck. Yep. Bit unlucky, but that's fine. So we know we're doing the salon, so let's go to the post office. I'll maybe put Zachary at the very end just in case he's on his way back. Send an invitation to a visitor. Stamp envelope send. We can also make some money. So originally I was going to try and open something, but I think right now I'm going to hold back until we start locking in some hail. Ice wraps on the roofs and treetops. Stamp, envelope, send. So yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll wait until we've actually gotten a couple of things from the salon before we'll start opening the packages. I also should have hired the fisherman. And the name of the two blades that are one of the threshold which has two sides. I've carried a memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of night. Postmistress examines the letter and deems it sufficient. It'll go with the next post, she assures me. Okay, so one thing I'm slightly curious about here. I go to the Nocturnary with the Edicts Marshal. So I still need a memory for the Wormwood Dream. I could make it the Hail, though. It's a little funny, because normally I'd use the Hail for something else, but... it's not as crazy as it seems. Although it's definitely close on the timing. Alright, as they used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. So, before we go any further, assistance from fishermen. In winter, when the storms close the seas, the fishermen will offer their services for $1 a day. It did also occur to me, let's go to Crowcross Sands. I'll just use the health here. I will do the same for the more and otherwise, but this one, if I can get some fish, that would be best. Okay. Fishermen in this part of the world have a reputation as smugglers, and worse than smugglers. Those days are past, mostly, and mostly they just catch pilchards now, but they still remember the words spoken in silence to the moon and the sea. So here we're going to talk to the fishermen. So we basically want to do what we did yesterday. That's going to mean that we need to use the tryst, but the first thing I wanted to do is the Wormwood Dream, and that is why I queued up the crafting here. Okay. Guests are coming in. Still not at the noon point, so... There we go. So there'll be a few interruptions to the salon just as far as the as far as the dialogue flow goes, and this is because of the all of the work that I'm doing sort of behind the scenes. But I think we should be able to manage. What will be nice is once we start getting a little certainty in terms of the challenges that we'll be running into, but we can't do that until the salon starts. In the third hour, when the office of Terse was once... Oh, here we go, midday. Before the Great Division, this was the 6th hour, when the priests led hymns to the sun and splendor. Now noon, as they say, is not as it was. Perhaps the new king will change that. Let us hope it is equally possible to forget this again. Okay, so first thing we want to do is make sure that we can run the salon. So, who have we invited? Where are they? Or where are we? What are we eating? So, refectory. Here, the whole curia used to meet, the librarian and the secretary solvent, vigilant, and enigmatic. Sometimes even the secretary nunciant, though the duties of that office usually kept him away from the house. But there's only ever been one secretary persistent, and she has never liked to eat in company. That was in the good times of the curia's heyday. In later years, the governor of the jail would sit at one end, the librarian at the other, and the clock would tick away the long silences between their words. We have invited Mr. Peter Agdistis, musician, mystic, impresario. Agdistis was a dancer once. One cannot see him without knowing it. The wound in his thigh keeps him from the stage, but every movement still has the cadence of a prayer. Princess Kokil Emirajibi, artist, socialite, burglar, an unspeakably charming woman with a particular knack for getting adopted. D.I. Douglas Moore, detective illuminate of the Suppression Bureau, a stoic but weary fellow. His dearest wish is to move to Chingford and grow roses, but the buggers won't let him retire. Daymare, Grafin Friederike Dagmar Sophia Teresa Helena Begina von Nagelsberg, if you prefer. She doesn't. And Mr. Zachary Wakefield, marksman, detective, renegade. He has always been a quiet man, but since he left the Suppression Bureau, he has grown ever quieter and terribly still, except for his fingers and for his eyes, always in restless motion. And they will be enjoying marinated roast beef, but since we have learnt from all vaporing France to eat their ragouts as well as to dance, we're fed up with nothing but vain complaisance. Oh, the roast beef of Old England and Old English roast beef. The stuffed pale marrow. This was a marrow redolent of sorrow. Now it's a dish to comfort the damned. Game chips. Long before fish and chips, these went crunchily with game. Ideally, you'd want bread sauce and bread crumbs to complete the ensemble, but honestly, it's hard enough not to just stuff these directly into your mouth. A stuffed dark marrow. This was a marrow with secrets. Now it's a dish for misties. And finally, the famous orange jumble. They should be the size of teacup rims and should curl their crisp edges, faintly pink as the underneath of a young mushroom. Lady Jekyll, kitchen essays. And they'll be drinking Isle water from Brandkrug's Deep Springs, Cater and Hero Second Flush Assam, tea from the land of the real unicorn, imported by Cater and Hero, a witching tisane to mend a broken heart, to color a pale soul. The room where once the curia met, a fitting venue for a salon. My guests take their places for lunch. This tool has boosted their aspects appropriately. Let's go... Can offer my assistants something to eat. This will increase their aspect. It's also just friendly. Lunch and supper last longer than less formal salons, allowing an extra interaction between your guests. So 6 interactions in total. Energetic exchanges. Spice up the conversation. Add an Arab card. So that's 1. This now means that the shaft and metal have been... Sorry, shaft, metal, and fet have been freed up. We'll wait for Crowcross Sands to open up. Douglas tries to reminisce with Zachary about their shared work at the Suppression Bureau, the time that they had to suppress a percussigan troop which was roaming the forests of Dean. But Zachary only stares and shakes his head. I don't remember. I don't remember. I remember that it was cold. I don't remember. Shame on me. I should have... Salon's boring me. I'm going to be out in the pub. All right. So there is quenchings and quellings that I'm going to be getting. If I want, I can try and turn that into something. But right now, I'm going to focus on taking advantage of some opportunities. And then for the metal, I can open up one of the packages. Conversation ebbs and flows. Nice drop. I can offer my assistants something to drink. This will increase their abilities. They'll also be glad of the refreshment. Inject a little gaiety. Add a core card. Okay. So this means, actually I'll just start dividing these out. So in one interaction, we'll find out what if we can use the tryst. Lively chatter. Dagmar rambles merrily at a skeptical Ecdistis about the possibilities, nyctodromic and musical, of the new Hammond organs. Having one shipped over, put up in my organ loft, she says happily. Of course, we'll need electricity in the organ loft first, and the castle, and put a roof back on the castle. Any chance you're rich, Eggers? Help a out loud? Alright, more gaiety. So, this is now where the fun starts. So I believe Lockworks and Clockworks is one of these ones I actually want to improve. No, actually it was one that I was on the fence about, but this will be quite helpful. So let's, and on top of that, I can actually do something with the confounding parables. So let's queue up some activities. So Lockworks and Clockworks is a knock and sky. That's pretty easy once we consider the music, but I'll try and be a little more... original. It's 2 of 5. I don't even remember where we were on these. So 3 of 5. Oh, wait. Couldn't remember if it was 3 or 4. Anyways, I'll try not to get too reckless with the items. Which of these do I want to read? I'll do skeleton songs. I think I did one too many, actually. Down to the Grushians. Alright, so there's the tryst. Douglas has been to a performance of Carolee's Ceaseless for assessment of oniric hazard, not for pleasure, but he took Mrs. Moore. Free tickets is free tickets, and both enjoyed it. Douglas much more than they expected. Agdistis is more than happy to discuss Carolee's work. Conversation ebbs and flows. Say something witty, add a shapt card. So that would mean... So this is sort of the breakout point where we know we're going to be able to achieve any of the challenges that we face. Better now. We threw this overboard. Agdistis recites, with caution, some of the lake songs of the Witches of the Fucine Marshes. I am more comfortable with the Frisian tongue, he says, but it is wise to pay the sister her due. So that's a Fucine lesson. We probably won't turn that into a higher level. The one exception to this rule of, like, raise the floor is that the languages on their own don't really boost that much. Like, they'll be helpful for the texts that do have that language, but I can't really use a language for crafting. So, what comes? Neither of us knows yet, but we will. Now, there's a side of me that says the clear answer here is to open up the perilous path, but I think I'm going to talk with the fisherman, and that's just so that I can generate a few more memories before the day is done. And that'll just be so that if we have any extra skills we want to level up, I'll take the opportunity. Invite a challenge, add a metal card. And at this point, I'm happy to just wait out the encounter. Coquille smilingly asks Douglas to remind her if there is an arrest warrant out for her just now. Not just now, he replies, but I'm sure we can sort something out. Coquille spends much of the rest of the meal quoting from Zara's Time of Division and asking which bits would get her arrested if she recited them at a cocktail party. I do like the second half to this, for those of you that have done this. Douglas has his revenge. All right. On the Matter and Deeds of Serpents, this was probably the Prophecies of the Naga rendered into English and illustrated by William Midnight in Paris in the 1880s, but it shows a number of divergences from that text. It's certainly quite recent by the standards of that text. The serpent folk, called the Great Hooded Princes, came to know the order called the House of Leith and warred across the miles with them. They made an alliance with the Mother of Ants, whose children they had been. The text describes how the Great Hooded Princes escaped, or will escape, from the Fifth History, where they had died or were doomed to die. They engage in a secret conquest of the land of the Great River, called India in some histories, and have ensured that all other conquests of that land are false conquests. The Queen's Turn, a 16th century translation of the Barrowchild's account of Lagia's turn, when Lagia, the queen unsated, was offered the opportunity to enter the service of the Hours of the Triple Knot, as long as she repudiated her brother-lover Antaios. Lagia accepts, setting aside the arts of the Low Red Sun associated with Antaios. She bargains, however, for freedom for her daughters. The Hours of the Triple Knot accept casually, knowing that Lagia has devoured her daughters, but wily Lagia has decided, in the secret hollow of her heart, that she will adopt any who ask, if they can prove their fierceness. The traditions described here, the ones generally described as hill and hollow, are associated with Lagia before her turn, but, now that she's a name of the Red Grail, they might also be safely used before an altar of the Triple Knot. Advice on containment. Thyrza Blake discusses ways to keep wood things out of trouble and Mansis things in it. Thyrza is irritatingly light on specifics, insisting above all that the duties of an adept are the duties of a host, and that a conjured spirit should be kept in as luxurious a vessel as possible. Thyrza notes the similarities between the lantern log habit of scrying, returning to the physical world despite their absence of a body by entering a mirror or light, and Pomander's techniques of confining Mansis long to mirrors. She wonders whether Pomander himself might be lured to visit Hush House if provided with a sufficiently alluring scrying. Deaths and their evasions. Father Stanislav John Schaller writes of the means and limitation of the passage between the orders of the Mansus. No long names ours. Unusually, Father John has written this book in Fucine, for, he says, a special secrecy. He speaks very cautiously of the exceptions that can sometimes be made to the edicts of Chancel and Calyptra, and hints at the means by which he successfully returned a lantern long to flesh. Schaller mentions most cautiously of all that he has been permitted to see a book that speaks more deeply on the matter, but that it was surrendered into the shadow of a covenant stone of the Watchman's Tree. It can be retrieved if the 99th wink is reserved under the edict's liminal. And the Skeleton Songs, poems of greedy delight composed by the possibly pseudonymous Arbella Dusk, the rumored heiress turned madam turned poetess. In Arbella's introduction, she explains that the book was to be illustrated, but that the Suppression Bureau would not permit it. She hints that the illustration still exists somewhere. The book is dedicated to Sir Parzival of the Red Cup. The 26 delightful fruits, the 7 chastisements, the 9 gardens, the 4 regrets. Okay, so the salon's not done yet, but we do have the 1 minute mark. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a second one of these in. So weaving and not working, I sort of feel like I should try and be big and ambitious with some of my moves. So like, for instance, with Fucine, it's like, well, why don't I just try and, put an even, like, get another point on Lockworks and Clockworks. And I'm actually still not opposed to that idea. But maybe here, because we know weaving and not working is sort of a spare point at this point, maybe we'll do resurgences and emergences. And actually, we already have, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we actually have the Beguiling Melody, which means we only need one more. So let's go for, I believe I did the Berry book last, so we can do the Wonderful Shape. Invite a challenge. Coquille asking incautious questions of Douglas. These two might say something else on the matter, and if you invite them both back for another salon. What I'm going to do here, I used to keep track of who had interactions. All right. I think I know what my next batch of Salon characters are going to be, actually. It's a bit of a rare one, but... Zachary speaks with staccato enthusiasm of the poetic sabotage efforts of someone he calls Hammerbreaker. His voice remains flat, but his hands twitch wildly. His fingers beat a complex rhythm on the tabletop. Agdistis listens sympathetically. Putrefactions and calcinations, which I believe is one that I thought I had, but didn't. That's exciting. This is, I think, maybe one of the drawbacks about how I've played this game in the past, which is I actually tend to think that I have things that I don't in the game simply because I've done so many playthroughs. I kind of just have a rough idea. It's like, okay, yeah, I don't know what level I've got this at, but, putrefactions and calcinations will give us, ... And I can't even remember. It was a few episodes ago now, but I'm like, wait a minute. I don't think I ever got it, so. Ah, wonderful. The yellowing newspaper, so we can now generate an occult scrap. It's dated the year that Hush House was abandoned. Where do I want to put such a treasured artifact? Actually, it might be more appropriate in the lounge. All right. Move the lesson down here. A lively salon. You've held a lively salon. This is a marker to remind you that you can't hold a salon until next season. Memory satisfaction, which unfortunately I think I'm going to... Actually, no. I can level up weaving and knot working first. Now, it's kind of pointless because I've already... I have the things that I need, but anyways, I'm going to do it because I can. There's putrefactions and calcinations. I'm going to try and level that up immediately. Or sorry, not immediate. Once the next day, I'm going to try and level that up without doing anything else. Sorry, I'm going to do the opposite of level it up immediately. So I used the FET here just because I have more of it. So I don't think it would be reasonable for me to try and read any more books right now. I should be... Basically, anything I want to do needs to be completed within a 1-minute period. Oh, impulse. I probably could have put that towards the... not only could I have put that towards the skill, but I would have been able to keep the beguiling melody. Anyways, perilous path. This route was never safe, even before the last round of storms had their way with it. You know, it also occurred to me I don't think I ever actually... Yeah, I didn't actually describe the room of the loading dock. Here the supplies came in from every continent that the seas touch, from the bounds and beyond. Now and then prisoners would try to escape, but the sea is always hungry. So there isn't quite the same need to hold back on adding Connie to the case. The writing case. I will hold back now just because, you know, I do have an opportunity to generate an occult scrap, and we were expecting Enuma reasonably soon, but other than that, I don't really have any reason to. I'm not going to reserve characters like that for as long. The wonderful shape, blessings and invocations of the triple knot recorded at a sanctuary in Cyprus notable for its weavers, sculptors, and gardeners. The roots go deep, the knots remain. The final invocation is one for the restoration of the roots, to be spoken before an altar of the triple knot, but puzzlingly, it should not be spoken by any priestess of the knot, or even by one who has been initiated into the mysteries. All right, so here we'll just wait for the consider. Skill is now level 3. Its power aspects have also increased. Lockworks and clockworks. Gonna take a minute here and see if I can preserve the confounding parable. Nope. I guess I should take a minute and think whether I want the moth and nectar or the grail and heart. I think probably the satisfaction's the more important of the two, just because moth is one that we're not actively pursuing. It's like we've already locked in the stuff that we need with the moth. And nectar is useful, but nectar's not necessarily going to connect with any of these other items here. So I'll wait the 27 seconds. I know we've gone over again, but I'm going to wait the 27 seconds just to see if I can add in putrefactions and calcinations. Bit of a weird lesson to take away from a lively Salon, but there you have it. This is the secret histories. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. And the boathouse, the best way to come to Brandkrug unnoticed, most recently an unofficial means for Suppression Bureau officials to come and go. Submerged sea caves. The sea has calmed these caves. The tide thunders below. I'll need to find some way to lower the water level before I can enter. These machines are of different and newer manufacture than the ones above, but they include something like a generator too, but they're in even worse condition. I'll need to find suitable materials and fuel, and I'll need scholar-level forge to jury-rig them. Okay, the skill is now level 6, its power aspects have also increased. And then we can take... Yep, acquire putrefactions and calcinations. Use this lesson to acquire a new skill. So I wasn't expecting it, but we did not have a skill for the majority of our playthrough. So now I kind of need to think about how I fit it in the overall tree of wisdoms, but I don't think that that's going to be a huge problem. I think I've got enough stuff to work with that I can plan out the day. All right, memories fade, assistance departs, but the soul is refreshed. So I'm going to leave it there. In terms of future plans, so effectively we have 3 different skills. Now, if I recall correctly, what I had been working on with Lockworks and Clockworks was one of them I think I was going to put in a position 7, and the other one I was going to put in a position 6. So maybe what I want to do with the Fusine is I want to level up Lockworks and Clockworks to position 7, just so I can say that that's out of the way, and then that frees up I know the position 6 one at that point. So that will be one that I consider. I am definitely going to need to think about how putrefactions and calcinations fits, and that will be one for quenchings and quellings. So this is a moon and winter. Obviously, if I get a chance to apply winter towards certain skills, that just means that I can use the moon for other things. And then surgeries and exsanguinations, it's actually kind of similar to the Fusine if you think about it, because it's got the knock aspect. But if I need, I can also, I can try and find, something with heart, let's say, or any of these other skills. I think herbs and infusions was something that I already had a spot for. But yeah, I'll say in terms of overall priorities, it'll probably be something like this. Like find a use for the Fusine, find a use for surgeries and exsanguinations, and then finish with quenchings and quellings. But all of that will happen in tomorrow's episode. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Take care.